Number one Christian. The value of respect. My father shared the following experience he had during his military service in Korea as a private first class in the Army. The Korean War had recently ended. During this time, Christianity was being introduced to the Korean people. My dad did not speak Korean and had only lived there a few months when the following experience took place. He came to love the Korean people who visited the base each day to do the duties the soldiers didn't like to do. The Koreans he worked with only had a limited use of the English language. In order to overcome the language barrier, my father had what he called a middle language. "This is a number one Jeep," he'd tell his colleague if he had a good Jeep that was running smoothly. "Ah, number one," the Korean would respond. If their Jeep was sputtering, the colleague would have a different rank. "Number 10. "Yes, number 10, my father would say. They used their scale to rank everything. Number 1 was the best of all ratings. To get around the camp compound, everyone had to walk down dirt paths, which had weeds and rocks on each side. When the Koreans would come one way and the Americans the opposite way, the Koreans would normally jump off the path into the weeds and rocks, and the Americans would pass by on the path. This did not seem right to my father because he was in the Koreans' homeland. So he decided to step off the path when he encountered a Korean. As my father stepped off the path and watched them pass, he would smile and greet them with a few kind Korean words he had learned. He said of the courtesy, "It was only a little thing, but I felt good in doing it." One night my father entered the mess hall and found a long line. He decided to sit down at a table to give time for the line to shorten. As he sat there, a Korean man who was working as a waiter came up to my father with a tray of food. Waiters normally only served higher ranks, such as corporals, who weren't required to go through the chow line. My father looked up at the waiter and said, "No, you can't serve me. I'm just a private first class." The Korean waiter then set down the tray of food in front of my father and said, "I serve you. You, a number one Christian." Apparently, the waiter had seen my dad giving way to Korean workers on the narrow dirt paths between the army buildings. My father's example of conducting himself with kindness and respect made an impression on the Korean workers and a deeper one on my dad. After his experience with the waiter, my father reflected, "I will always hear those words. It was the greatest compliment that has ever been paid to me. I serve you, you, a number one Christian." My father finished by saying, "That became one of my lifelong goals, to see if I could become a number one Christian." As his son, I am a witness that my dear father reached his goal. He was and is a number one Christian.